I tell you, in the year 2000, God willing, we want to start the new century properly. We want to bring that million or two back to Washington with their wives. And if you're not married, bring your girlfriend, because on that day we want to remarry everybody that is married, and we hope to get 10,000 young people that wish to be married and marry them, because the new century must be the century of family. Without strong family, you don't have strong community or strong nation. We must rebuild the black family.
Baltimore community recognizes 30th anniversary of Million Man March. By Tashi McQueen Afro staff, writer to McQueen@afro.com. Men and women of all walks of life came together October 16th to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Million Man March. In Baltimore, community members, local and national leaders kicked off the day in Druid Hill Park at 6 a.m. Though cold in the body, attendees were fired up in spirit, ready to continue the fight for unity, peace, and equality. Started by more than nearly 1 million black men 3 decades ago. The October 16th, 1995, Million Man March was one of the largest gatherings of black men in U.S. history. Men gathered on the National Mall in Washington, D.C., calling on Congress to address their needs and help combat harmful stereotypes about black men. The march was organized by Louis Farrakhan, leader of the Nation of Islam, NOI, and led by Dr. Benjamin F. C.O.W.S. Jr., now president and CEO of the National Newspaper Publishers Association. C.O.W.S. shared why he decided to support Farrakhan in organizing the march, even though they were of different faith communities at the time. God Almighty put a vision and a word in the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, said C.O.W.S. I heard that word coming out of the mouth of Minister Farrakhan. I heard the Minister Louis Farrakhan make that call. I said to myself, somebody needs to help the minister. Many questioned C.O.W.S.'s actions. Still, he continued to move the collaboration forward. It is our obligation and responsibility to respond to a call from God, C.O.W.S. recalled, telling his Christian colleagues at the time. In 1995, C.O.W.S. was an ordained Christian minister, but in 1997, he joined NOI. He recalled to those present how the men who answered the call occupied the National Mall for 12 hours, standing shoulder to shoulder like a mighty army. He noted that some people did not believe the gathering of black men could be achieved, but when it all came together, the power of what they accomplished could not be denied. The Million Man March helped us to see each other as part of one family, said C.O.W.S. Prior to the Million Man March, there was too much killing one another, self-hatred, and underestimating our own power. The drums and the prayer were not just heard on the mall, they were heard all over the nation's capital, said C.O.W.S. The civil rights legend wasn't alone when it came to men who were at the original event. Several who attended the commemorative event in Baltimore today were also at the 1995 demonstration. They reflected on their experience and commented on the state of Black America today. Caleb Chamba, 76, reflected on his time at the Million Man March. There was no smoking marijuana. There was no drinking, he said. We were peaceful, and we were united. Chamba highlighted that black women were present too, supporting black men. On that morning, as we men prepared and entered Baltimore Penn Station on our journey to the Million Man March in Washington, D.C., we were met with a breathtaking display of love and support from hundreds of black women, he said. Their voices rang out in a powerful chant of appreciation. Each shout was a profound reminder of our value and importance. Sister Velma Muhammad, now 84 years old, was living abroad when plans for the march were announced. The Chester Pa, native, heard the call and returned to the United States to do her part. I moved to D.C. in 1995 to do the sales and marketing for the nation, just to do that work. I moved from Africa. I was living in Ghana, she said, as the sun rose above the reservoir. Carl Taze Ransom, who has attended the annual commemoration in Baltimore a few times before, emphasized the importance of showing up and standing together as African Americans. We have to come together to combat what's coming against us, said Ransom. It's about our enlightenment and our power because we will stay down if we don't come together. 30 years later, he and others say much progress has been made. Last night, I drove around Baltimore and saw the progress that the city is making. A lot of times we underestimate our progress. A lot of people would point to what didn't happen in 30 years. I'm pointing to what did happen, C.O.W.S told the Afro. We have a young brother who's the governor of this state, a young brother who's the mayor of this city. There are more opportunities today, in 2025, than we had in 1995, but we have to keep pushing. The determination, strength, and perseverance of the people in Baltimore, quite frankly, helped to make the Million Man March successful 30 years ago, said C.O.W.S. He noted that many of the local groups that helped organize the original march have folded, but the black men of Charm City have held strong. Baltimore is the only city that kept the local organizing committee alive for 30 years, he said. Other events during the Million Man March anniversary weekend in Baltimore include a gathering at Coppin State University from 6:30 to 9 p.m. on October 17th, and a Brothers to Brotherhood Town Hall at the Morgan State University Student Center at 10 a.m. on October 18th.
A terrible thing to waste. Environmental racism, environmental racism, environmental racism.
One of the most significant airlifts in the history of Alaska is underway after the remnants of a typhoon hit a remote area. Hundreds of people are being evacuated from rural villages, and the homes in 2 villages are so damaged the entire population is being airlifted out. Sage Smiley is the news director at KYUK in Bethel, Alaska. Hi there, Sage.
Hello.
What's happening where you are?
Well, here in Bethel, we're the biggest community in western and northern Alaska, and it's extra busy right now because we're serving as the hub for evacuation and for aid for smaller communities that have been devastated by this typhoon remnant. So we have people passing in and out of the airport, helicopters flying back and forth from the coast. It's been really busy and a really huge logistical lift. We're still getting pieces of the full picture of the devastation here, but Bethel's emergency shelter is near or at capacity, and it's not totally clear where these hundreds of people are going to go.
What was the storm like?
So, harsh weather is pretty familiar out here by the Bering Sea, but we've been hearing from people along the Kuskokwim River here and up the coast saying they've never seen a storm like this. It caused historic flooding, it blew at least one house upside down, and floated dozens of homes and other buildings off their foundations. The state of Alaska says that more than 1,000 people have been displaced. My colleague Eric Stone from Alaska Public Media spoke to Samuel Carl from Guigilanguk, one of the hardest hit villages here at the Bethel airport, and his house was picked up by floodwater and drifted.
I think the wind shifted and the house turned, and we start drifting away again. We end up other side of the village, other side of the river.
Carl says they don't even have their IDs. He couldn't go back to his house because there was an ongoing search for 2 men who are missing after their house floated away. One woman, their family member, was found dead on Monday.
Now, when we say this is an airlift, how hard is it to move around there?
Well, we're totally unconnected from the U.S. road system. You could not drive here if you wanted to. The only way in is by plane or barge. This region is primarily Yupik, indigenous people native to western Alaska, and there are around 30,000 people living in a region the size of Oregon, spread out over dozens of tiny villages. Life out here is really close to the land. People fish on the water in the summer and through the ice in the winter. They pick berries, hunt moose and beaver and geese, gather wild eggs. They subsist, live off the land. Evan Erickson, one of our reporters here at KYUK, spoke to Buggy Carl, a tribal administrator from Kipnuk, another village in the path of the storm that's being evacuated. He said it's really hard for people to think of not being in their village.
I know their mindset that their heart is here. They don't know anywhere else to go because, they grew up here.
Here we are in autumn. It's moose season. People have spent the whole summer storing foods for winter, and all of that is lost. It's devastating for these families who lose that nutrition and connection to generations of cultural tradition.
That's Sage Smiley with KYUK in Bethel, Alaska. Thanks so much.
Koya Nakba, thanks.
Once upon a time up in Jersey,
A Newark Museum of Art exhibition celebrates the legacy of 19th century African American women who left their marks within their New Jersey community. Their names are Sarah O'Fake Evans, Ellen King, and Hannah Mendeville. Staged in a brick-style Renaissance mansion, the show reflects the lives of these women, an artist and businesswoman, a teacher, and a freed slave. The show features portraits, old newspapers, and archival documents. A review in Museum Magazine states, in ambient light, the shadows of the house dance across these works, which present not as history paintings, but as symbols of life. Stay, the Black women of the 19th century Newark, is on display at the Newark Museum of Art until 2028. Curator Noelle Lorraine Williams joins me now in studio to discuss. She's a New Jersey-based artist, historian, and the director of the African American History Program and the Black Heritage Trail for the New Jersey State Historical Commission. Noelle, welcome to all of it.
Well, thank you for having us. I really appreciate it.
So these women lived between 1811 and 1936. How did you learn about them, first of all?
Wow. So I've always really been fascinated by Black activism. And when I was younger, I studied Black activism in the 20th century. Mm-hmm. But then for graduate school, I just became pulled into African American activism in the North. In the 1800s. I just couldn't believe I didn't learn more about these stories when I was younger. And so looking at stories like in Manhattan with Black Gotham, learning about Seneca Village up there in Central Park, I was curious, like, what is Newark's story? What can we learn about Newark?
So as you studied these women, how did their lives illustrate what the conditions were like for African Americans in Newark during that time, 1811 to 1936?
Well, one of the things that I learned about the lives of African Americans there is that it was one of struggle, but it was one of community and learning, right? So you have these African Americans, some of them with wealth, right? Some of them were freed enslaved people who had gotten money from enslavers or who had created their own money through being like carriage drivers and other types of work. And then you have poor folks that are a part of the African American community. And what they're doing is fighting slavery in New Jersey and throughout the country. And they're building churches, they're buying houses, they're trying to win back the vote, because in New Jersey, African Americans actually in the initial Constitution could vote. So they're doing all of these things, making communities. And I was like, wow, this is almost like what we're used to be thinking of Black activism in the 1960s. Yeah. And it's happening here in the 1830s.
Oh, yeah. I've always said the 1860s and the 1960s were way more connected than people need to know about.
Yeah, yeah.
What was a piece of research that you came across that just sort of blew your mind?
Wow. I mean, I've been researching this topic now for almost 6 years. So I what would be the most amazing? I guess the most amazing thing is like being at a place like Rutgers University, right? You see a field and then you come to learn, wow, there was once a Black church here. Yeah. Wow, there were enslaved women who lived in Jersey City who became free, moved over here and continued to try to help the community. They bought houses. They tried to help the poor folks. They did fundraising. They had concerts. They had people like Frederick Douglass come out and speak, Henry Garnett. All of these figures who were kind of faraway figures walked the same streets that I did. They did poetry, like spoken word in the 1860s. So in Newark, we always talk about Amiri and Amina Baraka, right? But to imagine someone like Ellie Moss Payson doing a 40-minute poem about enslavement and the blood and the courage of our people on these same streets was amazing to me. So I guess that was the most exciting thing to me, was the fight, like seeing the fight. And that's actually why my project is called Black Power 19th Century.
Ooh, you just give me chills talking about that. New Jersey-based artist and historian Noelle Williams is here to talk about her work on a Newark Museum of Art exhibit called Stay, the Black Women of 19th Century Newark. Okay, this takes place at the Ballantine House. Tell us about the Ballantine House.
Yes. So the Ballantine House is a part... Oh, it's okay. The Ballantine House is actually what the Newark Museum of Art considers a part of their collection, right? It's a house. It's right in downtown Newark in our arts education district, a couple of blocks from NJ Pack, right near the trains. And this house is a historic house. It's a Gilded Age house. The Ballantines, they were a beer-making family. They had immigrated from Scotland. Peter Ballantine, his son John Ballantine, created this house to display their wealth, not in an ostentatious way, but it's just a beautiful artifact that we have in New Jersey. Folks should come check it out. You'll be amazed. It's been reconstructed, refurbished, and it's beautiful. And so what the Newark Museum and Amy, the curator there, what they wanted to do was bring in the lives of the people who worked in the house and the neighborhood. Now, what's different about Stay is that these are not the Black women who worked in the house. I'm always very clear with that, about that with the docents. These are the Black community that lived around the house. So they walk the same streets as the Ballantine, but they are the middle class comparison of the Ballantines.
Very interesting. Okay, let's talk about Sarah O'Fake Evans.
Yes.
She was born in 1871. She lived in 1906. And she was a member of a very rich family in Newark, yes?
Yes. So the rich family that she was a part of, they were called the O'Fakes. I'm still doing more research on the genesis of the O'Fakes. I believe that they're descendants of African Americans that came from the West Indies with this enslaver. What a lot of folks don't know is that in New Jersey, there were enslavers who came from Barbados and settled near Newark. It was actually called New Barbados, right? But there were also other enslavers. They had plantations in South Carolina. They had some in Barbados, and they moved to Newark. So some of these African Americans came with them. And so John O'Fake, or actually Peter O'Fake, is the father of the family. He played violin. He also played the flute. He traveled throughout New York City, upstate New York, all around the country. He taught music in Newark, taught the upper class white families how to dance. And he also worked with the Black community there, right? So this is what I love, right? Is that you have these folks who are taking stake in this life, right? So he's doing this in the 1840s. He's traveling around the country, making music, but he's also helping us to sustain St. Philip's Church, which was a Black church in Newark, New Jersey. Right.
Which meant it was a Black political center as well.
Thank you. Okay, I need to come chill with you. Because, yeah, exactly, y'all. And that's one thing I always say in my talks. When we think about these Black churches, these are our first Black political centers. This is where folks are doing fundraising, feeding folks, sheltering folks on the Underground Railroad. And that's what they were doing there in Newark. And that's what a lot of Black Power 19th Century is about. So he had a son, John O'Fake. John O'Fake was also a part of this music legacy. His daughter, Emma, is actually pictured there at the Ballantine House. So it's so exciting, right? You have the Ballantines, this Scottish beer-making family. This house is preserved beautifully. We have so many things that even the Ballantines put in there, the fireplaces. But then now you have the Black families, the Black women who used to walk the same streets as the Ballantines present in the house. So you can experience what's both traditional, but also a more augmented reality, but a real history of Emma O'Fake. So I've rendered her on lace. And so we see her image. The other women I didn't have images of. And so we get to think about Newark history, right? So we think about these Black women like Emma O'Fake, and then later I have diary entries from her mother, Sarah O'Fake, and she's talking about, shopping in Newark, taking care of some of the older women who I had actually read about before, who had help with the Underground Railroad, right? She talks about her Aunt Hannah, and this is Aunt Hannah, who I had been reading about, who had been trying to sustain a church in the 1850s.
Wow.
Here I'm reading about her in 1885, and that Sarah O'Fake is going to go help her aunt, And that's powerful to me, seeing those connections and seeing people forge their lives. So we get to see the O'Fakes and what it meant to be a Black middle-class family, but what it meant to also still be connected to community.
She only died when she was 37, Sarah O'Fake. Do we know why?
I can't remember what the reason why.
I think that happened in that time.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Hannah Mandeville.
Yes.
She was born enslaved, yes?
Yes. So Hannah Mandeville was born enslaved in what we would now identify as downtown Jersey City, so over there by Exchange Place. And when she was freed, New Jersey had a law that if you were born by a certain date, you would be freed if you were a woman by the time you were 21. So... So she was freed, and then she married a man named Anthony Mandeville. They eventually ended up in Newark. They actually lived on the house that we've renamed Frederick Douglass Field at Rutgers, next to 3 other Black-owned houses and a Black-owned church. And she worked with the women's group. So I was really lucky because I was able to find articles in the newspaper about her doing fundraisers with the women there. And then the thing about Hannah's story that really always sticks with me, and I continue to live with the story, is that she lived in this house on the field for 60 years. And then when she was in her 90s, she was dragged out by a realtor. Literally, she wouldn't leave the house. They had to put all of her things in the street, and she stayed there in a chair. The same avenue where students walk every day, right? Where these various Newark histories have happened. The 1967 rebellion, student activism at Conklin College at Rutgers. She lived on that field. This history existed. And the fact that even in her 90s, she was still fighting for her own rights, So to me, that's what's kind of exciting about stay at the Newark Museum of Art, is the fact that we get to hear these Black women being resilient in the 1800s, going into the 1900s. They're the foundation of Black activism in Newark.
Yeah. Is there a marker where Hannah sat in that chair?
No. I mean, I've done some videos for it. And actually for the exhibition, I depict Hannah's story as a series of cutouts. So once you walk into the room, you'll hear music. I have a violin rendition of I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor, who was born in Newark, because I'm wondering, what does it mean for Newark's resilience to be transplanted around the world and for people to find power in the story? So you hear that song, but then you see these silhouettes depicting Hannah leaving Jersey City, building and praying and with women, and then being dragged out of her house. But that's not the end of her story. Her story lives in the exhibition. But we do have a marker at Rutgers that shows a map of the Black community that lived on that field. And that's what was really important to me as an artist and a historian, was that it wasn't the Frederick Douglass Field wouldn't just celebrate Frederick Douglass, but it would celebrate the community. So we can see where Hannah lived, where where the King family who had the Underground Railroad, we can see where Newark's second Black church was.
That's what I want to ask you about, Ellen King, before we run out of time.
Yes.
Tell us about Ellen King and the Underground Railroad.
Okay, so on the same field where Plain Street Colored Church was, we had the King's house. And the King, Jacob King, I found an article in the newspaper where he was the treasurer for the Underground Railroad Society. Ellen King was his youngest daughter. And I actually found this interesting article where she's opening the door for a pastor who's coming by to visit. Ellen King went to North Carolina to go teach, but then she came back to Newark and she taught in Newark. We think of teaching as activism because writing and reading was autonomy. It was activism. I tell this story about this woman who couldn't read a contract, and it was for her own freedom. So Ellen King teaching was an activist act. She comes back, she lives in that house on the field until she dies. And so we have her story. She's actually center in the room, in front of, behind these images of Louise Epperson, who fought against displacement in Newark in the 1960s, or Sakia Gunn, a 15-year-old lesbian who was killed only 2 blocks away for telling a man that he couldn't tell her to move. So Ellen King's story lives with those stories. And I'm just so happy the museum has allowed us to represent her in lace at 5 feet. Big.
We got this really great text that says, I remember hearing about Ballantine Ale when I was a kid in the 70s. This segment is so interesting.
Oh, great. Come back to Newark.
As we wrap up, what inspiration do you believe that folks today could take from this exhibition?
I think that the inspiration is definitely each day you have the opportunity to make a decision and take action in your life, to express yourself, to join with others, to build your community, and to learn more, and that there's always so much more to learn. And here in Newark, in our Arts Education District, the Newark Museum, Newark Library, NJPAC, we welcome folks to come, learn your history, enjoy art, connect with community, and we're just so excited for this opportunity.
The name of the exhibit is Stay, the Black Women of 19th Century Newark. My guest has been artist and historian Noel Williams. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your stories and all the stories of these people with us.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so if I had stayed in Wisconsin, I think I would. I honestly question if I would still be living.
Tonight, a confrontation caught on camera at last night's Brewers game. A woman threatens to call Immigration and Customs Enforcement on a Dodgers fan.
You know what? Let's call ICE.
Call ICE. Call ICE. I'm a U.S. citizen. We're veteran, baby girl. We're veteran. 2 wars.
Tonight, the man recording that video speaking to 12 News. TJ Dysart leads us off outside of American Family Field with that video and the fallout that we've seen from it. TJ?
Yeah, Blake, that man says he is a U.S. citizen and a military veteran. He says this all started as friendly banter between him and Brewers fans here in his section here at the ballpark last night. He says that one fan took things way too far.
Dodgers superfan Ricardo Fasado behind the camera Tuesday night during Game 2 of the NLCS in Milwaukee.
You see the excitement of the fans. And they let me know where I was at. So it was cool, playful. Yeah, like you said, it was baseball.
Later, he records the Dodgers take a 3-1 lead.
I start cheering, clapping, doing what Dodger fans do.
Why is everybody quiet? What is this?
That's when Fasado says a woman wearing a Brewers shirt said this.
You know what? Let's call ICE.
Call ICE. Call ICE. I'm a U.S. citizen. We're veteran, baby girl. We're veteran. 2 wars.
The woman appears to swing at the camera.
Good luck. Good luck.
Fasado admits after the swing, he called the woman an expletive off camera. He says security then kicked him out of the stadium. Since then, the video and the woman's comments have been viewed on social media more than 2 million times.
It just shows the level of where a person's heart is and how she really feels as a human being.
12 News confirmed the woman is Shannon Kablarczyk, an attorney at Milwaukee-based staffing firm Manpower. The company told 12 News Wednesday, quote, "As soon as we became aware of this video, the individual was placed on immediate leave, and we began an investigation. As a result of this process, the employee is no longer with the organization." Make-A-Wish Wisconsin said, quote, Shannon resigned from our board of directors this afternoon, effective immediately. Kaplarzik declined to comment for this story.
Call ICE! Call ICE!
Fasado says he didn't intend for the video to go viral, but says all there is left to do is carry on.
Her heart is where it's at. I can't do anything about it. Nothing that I say will change her thoughts about me.
Now, TJ, you did reach out to the Brewers
to find out if they've seen the viral video. We did not hear back from the team tonight.
It's really unfortunate for something like this to happen when this is all about bringing people together during this time for our city. 12 News' TJ Dysart live outside of AmFam for us tonight. Thanks, TJ.
For years, there had been a known affiliation and a friendship between Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew. And then, of course, there were the allegations from Virginia Giuffre. And these stories had dogged him for years. So he decides, I'll confront them head on. So he sits down with the BBC.
Look, I can tell you categorically, I don't remember meeting her at all. I do not remember a photograph being taken. And I've said consistently and frequently that we never had any sort of sexual contact whatever.
We begin here in Britain. King Charles's brother Andrew has announced he's relinquishing his royal titles, except for Prince. His fall from grace was triggered by his friendship with the late American businessman Jeffrey Epstein, who was jailed for sex crimes against underage girls. Andrew stepped back from public life in the wake of this disastrous BBC interview back in 2019.
Do I regret the fact that he has quite obviously conducted himself in a manner unbecoming? Yes.
Unbecoming? He was a sex offender.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm being polite, in the sense that he was a sex offender. The problem was that once he had been convicted...
You stayed with him?
I stayed with him. That's the bit that, as it were, I kick myself for on a daily basis, because it was not something that was becoming of a member of the royal family. And we try and uphold the highest standards and practices, and I let the side down. Simple as that.
Just over 2 years later, with the Epstein story not going away, the late Queen Elizabeth stripped her second son of his honorary military affiliations and royal charitable patronages. This month, emails were revealed which contradicted claims made by him in his BBC interview about when exactly Andrew ended his relationship with Epstein. And next week, we'll see the posthumous publication of a book by Virginia Giuffre, who took her life earlier this year. She claimed she was trafficked by Epstein and was forced to have sex with Andrew at the age of 17. We should point out that Prince Andrew denies all allegations against him. Virginia Giuffre's brother, Sky Roberts, gave the BBC his reaction to the news that Andrew is losing his titles.
In a lot of ways, this vindicates Virginia. She was a truth teller from the beginning, and she was telling the truth. And I think this is a moment where we feel very proud for her, but we're also sad because she should be sitting here. She should be talking to you, but she's not. And so we're here to advocate for her and her survivor sisters. I think her kids would be incredibly proud to know that their mom is an American hero, that she's an international hero, that all the years of work that she put in is now coming to some sort of justice. And these monsters can't escape from it. The truth will find its way out.
So has the Prince taken this step willingly? My colleague Valerie Sanderson asked our UK correspondent Rob Watson.
In his statement, he says he did it in discussion with King Charles and the wider family, but I don't think there's any doubt, and I think the palace has pretty much hinted at this, that had Prince Andrew not fallen on his sword, that King Charles and his heir, Prince William, would probably have pushed him onto it, because I think, and this wouldn't be the first time in the 1,000-year history of the monarchy, Valerie, I think that the King and Prince William decided that in the end, the reputation and survival of the monarchy trumps all else, family loyalty, brotherly love, such if that exists, and that's why this move was taken.
He's been surrounded, Prince Andrew, by scandal for years. What do you think the tipping point was?
I think there have been two tipping points in the last few days. The first one, of course, goes back to Jeffrey Epstein and his relationship and friendship with the disgraced financier, and the posthumous publication of a book by Virginia Giuffre, who was trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein. Now, in her book, she says that she thought that Andrew was, and I'm pretty much quoting here, entitled, and I'm quoting now, believed having sex with me me was his birthright. That is obviously hugely damaging. But secondly, his name had also been linked with a senior Chinese Communist Party official whose name has been mixed up in a rather prominent case in the last few weeks about espionage against targets in the UK. So I think it was the combination of those two things, I think, probably led to the King and those around the King saying to Prince Andrew, look, the game is up. You've got to go for the sake of the monarchy.
Now, he's giving up the Duke of York title and other honours, but he remains a prince, doesn't he, because he's the son of a monarch, the late Queen Elizabeth, and he'd already stepped back from royal duties. So what does this mean practically for him going forward, do you think?
I think practically not very much. I mean, as you say, the disgrace, the demotion, the humiliation began with his mother, reluctantly, the late Queen Elizabeth II, stripping him of his military titles, of him being able to call himself His Royal Highness in 2022, and essentially stepping back from all royal duties. So practically not much, but I guess the way you would put it is that this completes, if you like, his humiliation, his demotion and banishment from public life. I mean, any idea that Prince Andrew is ever going to return in some way to the front row of the royal family, that is now finished, and he will be more isolated than ever.
Rob Watson reporting.
Los Angeles is known to a lot of folks as the city of murals, walls of art all around the city and region that bear all kinds of messages. But some neighborhoods don't get as much of the artistic love that others do. And that's where Mike Norris comes in.
I'm doing a mural tour called Artfully United, where I do a mural in different hoods all across L.A.
A wall that says love or forgiveness is deeper than just looking pretty.
It's kind of tough to shoot somebody in front of a wall that says peace.
Mike Norris paints in places that he believes needs inspiration and hope. He's on a mission to heal and uplift the city he calls home through the stroke of his paintbrush. His murals are large, colorful, hard to miss, and often captioned with large words of wisdom. Artfully United is a documentary that follows Norris's creative journey. It's being released in theaters this week. And Norris and the producer of the documentary, Chris Walters, join us right now in the studio. Mike, welcome to you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And Chris, welcome to you.
Steve, it's a pleasure to be here.
Mike, you're the artist here. What made you want to paint these murals all around L.A., especially in neighborhoods that don't see a lot of art?
Well, me being a product of these neighborhoods, I just saw there was a lack of a level of inspiration, something that the people can look forward to, going to school, coming to work or wherever, just something to inspire and help to uplift. A lot of these people in these neighborhoods are dealing with a lot of trauma, a lot of issues, just dealing with just day to day of living in these neighborhoods. So I wanted to create a mural tour that is designed just for these people.
You're talking Watts, South
Watts,
LA,
South
Compton.
Central. Yes, sir. Inglewood, Gardena, South Central Los Angeles.
Why do you think there's so much art missing in those areas?
Well, because they're utilizing the people in those areas for advertisements. So a lot of things, it's believe it or not, there's a lot of advertisement dollars that is just allocated to those areas, and there's a lot of consumption in those areas, but there's nothing to help uplift the people, that at least from me, of my perspective. And I just wanted to do my part in changing that.
I mean, it seems to me, and if you look through history of humankind, that through struggle comes art, right?
Sir.
I mean, especially in the black community.
Yep.
And so in that respect, what did you think people would glean from what you were painting?
Well, that they will, one, be inspired, but two, just kind of reflect on their own lives and what they're doing, you know what I mean? And how can they help in their way? Because I'm doing it in my way artistically. And the goal is to just kind of put up a mirror in front of everyone and see, like, okay, what am I doing, to either help this situation of this neighborhoods, because neighborhoods aren't created by themselves. The people that are in these neighborhoods are creating the narrative of why they are the way they are. And we got to start with love, and someone's got to reach over the aisle and say, hey, this is what we were going to do. We should do it together. I wanted to design it to be based around my character, Powerful Paul, that is in every single wall, that's showing like, hey, this character is in all of these neighborhoods, uniting us through this message, or these messages, I should say.
Who is Paul?
He's a 6-year-old kid, and he's actually based around the Bible. Paul, the small little one, powerful little one, he was in the Bible. And he's just based around that, and just kind of like images of cartoons I grew up liking throughout my childhood, throughout the years. And I want something that these people can see and see themselves in. Paul is a black kid, and you don't see too many black kids in murals all around like I'm placing him. So these kids are growing up seeing themselves, you know what I mean? Or these people are seeing themselves in Paul. You see just something animated through Paul. He's always doing something, in every single mural. And it's going to make you laugh. It's going to make you smile.
Something with a message, right?
Yeah,
so you'll see Paul like looking up at, he's like holding the letter Y, right, in unity. And so he's like looking up at unity. And you've got you've got that powerful message there. Chris, I want to bring you in and ask you what led you to want to tell this story.
I was inspired by Mike. I was inspired by his activism. The more I knew about his family of origin, the more remarkable I understood it to be. So I was inspired by him as a man, him as a leader in his community and otherwise. He's really respected by people from all age range, geographic locations, and demographics.
And it's not just Powerful Paul, right? You've got mural. You did Tupac and Nipsey Hussle, right? And, those. You are the artist. Seriously, and I commend you for it.
Thank you.
Where did it come from, do you think?
It came from God. That's the only thing I can contribute, because all of my life, literally all of my life, I have been an artist. Because I've been through a lot of trials and tribulations, and
talk about that.
I don't, literally I think the next year we were homeless, living out of my mom's Maverick for a year. I'll never forget, on Central and Imperial, for those that don't know, that's right next to the Nickerson Gardens projects. Yeah. We had to get recycling cans to the recycle center just to eat that night.
Just to get a little bit of money.
Maybe $5 to get some burgers or whatever. Art was always my outlet, was my therapy during that time. I would get a sketch pad or, whatever. It made me who I am today, and I appreciate every single step of the journey.
What's your favorite mural? What's the best one you believe you've ever done?
It's a toss-up between Forgiveness, because that's the first one, and Inspire, because I like the way I did the pullback of the letters. And it actually, true story here, it was a high-speed chase. L.A. has tons of high-speed chases.
We know.
And the guy was getting off El La Brea on the 10 freeway. And the guy on the helicopter said, "Oh, forgiveness." No, he didn't inspire. He didn't say forgiveness.
You're talking about the TV guy?
Yeah, the guy on the helicopter on the news. He was on the news, and he says, "Oh, inspire." What? He says that we're right by Inspire. And when I tell you, the guy stopped right after they went. He stopped and pulled over right next to.
You think he looked at your message? And
I don't know what it was, but the chase was over.
Your mural may have been the catalyst for avoiding catastrophe of him running somebody over.
That is an amazing LA story, by the way.
Yeah, that's
because there's a car chase in it, there's art in it, seriously, and a message.
Helicopter,
TV helicopter guy. Chris, where do we see this documentary?
It's opening at the Laemmle in Glendale on the 17th. It's going to be at the Sinopolis Theater near SoFi in Inglewood on the 21st.
That's over on Century, right?
Yeah,
Century Boulevard.
Century and Prairie.
And then we're excited to get it onto streaming platforms in January.
Mike Norris, Chris Walters, thank you so much for coming in. Good luck.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks for having us.
I say reading is more important than watching TV. And not getting addicted to looking at those small iPhone screens. See, where you were getting accustomed to looking there in a narrow space. as opposed to paying attention broadly to what is happening around you. See, and people are getting addicted.
Wisconsin schools are seeing a greater need for speech therapists for the state's youngest children. Educators believe this could be due in part to excessive screen time by kids and their caregivers. Corrine Hess has more.
Elizabeth Chandler is seated at a crescent-shaped table at the end of a brightly lit hallway at Bridges Elementary School in Prairie du Sac. On this school morning, she's working with 2 boys in pre-kindergarten on R sounds.
You colored it blue, but the R word was gray. We're going to growl like a dog. Gray.
The lesson continues as they growl and grin over and over.
We're going to growl again. Ready? Grin. Grin. Yeah, that tongue stays down.
As a speech pathologist, Chandler has used exercises like this for years, but she's finding more and more children are in need of help. The Sauk Prairie School District has seen a significant increase in referrals for speech and language services for the community's youngest children. Just since 2023, the number of kids in pre-kindergarten through K4 who are receiving speech-language services has gone from 15 to 28. That's an 86% jump. Superintendent Jeff Wright believes the amount of time children and their caregivers are spending on screens is leading to the increase. Wright says when adults are looking down at a screen, children can't see their full face, and seeing their grown-ups speak is crucial for young children to learn language.
When I look into a baby's eyes and go goo goo gaga and the baby makes those sounds back, that child is learning how to make that hard G sound with me. But you can't learn that through a screen.
The American Academy of Pediatrics defines screen time as any time spent interacting with digital devices, including smartphones, tablets, computers, and televisions. For children aged 2 to 5 years, they say screen time should be limited to 1 hour per day of high-quality educational programming, and they say children younger than 2 shouldn't be on a screen. Dawn Mirth Johnson is a speech-language educational consultant with the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. She says adults should also be aware of how often they're on their screens.
A typical guide for adults when they're using digital devices is, would I read a book right now? So if I'm sitting here reading a book, I'm not going to interact with you language-wise.
Mirth Johnson says while she understands the attraction of distracting kids with screens, it can have a negative impact. A 2023 study from the American Medical Association of Pediatrics found that the more hours a toddler is exposed to a screen, the more likely they are to have developmental delays.
Parental tech use has been likened to secondhand smoke, in that it might endanger children's health and development in ways we don't even fully understand yet.
While Chandler works with the young boys on grr sounds in the hallway, a few of her colleagues are in the 4-year-old kindergarten classroom. Speech therapist Albino is talking with a young boy about the trucks on his family farm.
Oh, so you have 2 sizes of diesel trucks at your farm.
Somehow I dump the dabble out sometimes like that.
Bina corrects him gently when he says the trucks dump out devil instead of gravel.
When your house needs some gravel at it, he comes home and dumps it.
He dumps it on the dabble.
These conversations about trucks seem simple, but it's what speech therapists call joint attention. Bina says talking about shared activities is critical for language growth.
When children are only getting the one side from a screen, it's different. It's more passive than engaged.
The speech therapists all agree that creating games at home is a lot harder than using a screen while trying to make dinner. They suggest caregivers narrate what they're doing for their children so speech becomes an ongoing part of daily life. Corrine Hess, Wisconsin Public Radio.
What they give you, blood? 3 months, man. What you doing in here anyway? You ought to be home with your mama. How old are you, boy? 13. 13? Damn. The bastards must be running out of niggas to arrest.
Since 2023, children as young as 13 years old have been kept in solitary confinement units for weeks or even months at Shelby County's Juvenile Detention Center. A new investigation from MLK 50 found the center was holding children in violation of state law, which prohibits kids from being locked in a cell alone for more than 2 hours at a time. Rebecca Cadenhead is MLK 50's Youth, Life, and Justice reporter and a Report for America Corps member. She joins me now from Memphis. Your story starts with a kid named David. Can you tell me what happened to him?
David is a Memphis teenager who was held in solitary confinement for 4 months inside Shelby County's Juvenile Detention Center. In 2024, when he was 17, he was arrested and charged with aggravated robbery. And while his case was making its way through juvenile court, he was incarcerated in the detention center. I should probably stress that this incarceration technically was not a punishment. At the time he was incarcerated, he wasn't found guilty of any crime. In juvenile detention centers in Tennessee, they basically function as jails, like in the adult system. So David ended up staying in the center for 8 months, but he didn't really know when he'd be released during his incarceration. And he says that the waiting to be released really started to get to him. He started getting into fights. And after one of those fights, guards took him from his housing unit and placed him in a solitary confinement unit inside the center. My reporting has found that there are 2 such units inside the center. And while he was in a cell in the solitary confinement unit, he was basically locked there for anywhere between 47 to 71 hours at a time, which means that he was let out of his cell for 1 hour every 2 to 3 days. And when he was inside his cell, he had nothing to do. He was not allowed to go to school, no supplemental educational materials, no books, no games. It was really just him and his own thoughts for months.
What did he say the impact was of that time so profoundly alone?
He basically described hopelessness. He talked about feeling like he'd never go home. He talked about really missing his mom and feeling like he'd never see his mom again. Solitary confinement started to make him feel and do things that were really unusual for him. So he started feeling really violent, like he wanted to fight everybody. He started clogging his toilet and banging on his windows so that he would have something to do. David still has nightmares about solitary confinement. He's now afraid of the school resource officers at his high school because they remind him of his incarceration. He can only eat on the schedule that guards in the detention center fed him on.
And remind me again how old he was?
He was 17 when this happened, but this has happened to children who are as young as 13.
Right. So, okay, as you dug into those records, what did you find? How representative was David's story?
I reviewed a bunch of inspection reports. In the aggregate, those inspection reports indicated that youth in these confinement units had been separated from the general population of the center because of their behavior, that they were not allowed to go to school because of their behavior, and that they were spending most of their days, if not all of their days, inside their cells.
Well, and I know we've seen in a lot of past reporting, juvenile detention centers often say that they're not holding kids in solitary confinement. Instead, they call it seclusion. What did officials who run this center say about their treatment of kids?
Yeah, they said that they were not holding kids in solitary confinement, but when I asked them to define solitary confinement, they wouldn't give me an answer.
Who else knew that kids were being treated this way? I mean, did county officials know what was going on?
Yeah, a lot of people knew. Frankly, a disturbing number of people knew that solitary confinement was happening in this detention center. I think I could go through a list, but the most notable example was leadership in Memphis, Shelby County's juvenile court. Juvenile court is important here not because they run the detention center, but because magistrates in the court choose to incarcerate youth at the detention center. I found in my reporting that juvenile court had hired a consultant to inspect the facility as early as 2023, and this consultant described essentially a solitary confinement unit. He described a unit where youth were being sent for their behavior, where they weren't being let out of their rooms all day. And then in 2025, a source sent to me a recording of a private meeting in which a senior official at the court discussed the use of solitary confinement inside the center. And in that recording, she made it pretty clear that this use of solitary confinement was in violation of state law. But despite this knowledge of solitary confinement, magistrates at the court continued to send quite a lot of youth to this detention center. Some previous reporting of mine found that the current court administration in Shelby County sends more youth to this detention center than the prior court administration, even though the number of youth charged with serious offenses has declined.
Well, Rebecca, thank you so much for sharing this with us. Rebecca Cadenhead is a reporter with MLK 50 and Report for America. To read her full investigation into solitary confinement inside Shelby County's Juvenile Detention Center, visit our website, WPLN.org. This is Nashville's local news and NPR station, 90.3 WPLN News.
Simple fact is, Anderson, we got two cultures down here. White culture and the colored culture. Now, that's the way it always has been. That's the way it always will be.
The rest of America don't see it that way, Mr. Mayor.
The rest of America don't mean jack shit. You in Mississippi now.
The shooting in Leland was just one of 5 that killed almost a dozen people over the past homecoming weekend. Investigations are happening in Heidelberg, Rolling Fork, and right here in Jackson. In Lorman at Alcorn State University, one person was killed. The institutions of higher learning board is responding to this weekend of violence. Out of the list of recent shootings, 2 of them happened at universities. 16 WABT's Brooklyn Joyner joining us live here in the studio with more on this, Brooklyn.
Megan, one shooting happened at Alcorn State University, resulting in a 29-year-old woman being killed and 2 others were injured. The other shooting happened near Jackson State University's tailgate, where a child was shot. IHL board members sent their prayers to these victims and their families. They also said their main goal is to ensure safety on all college campuses.
I know all of our universities are constantly working with their campus police to ensure a safe environment for all events and for everyone on the campus. We're keeping our universities, those involved in the tragic events, and their families in our prayers.
Mississippi Valley representatives were also at this board meeting, sharing the university's legacy as their homecoming game is set to happen on Saturday. They talked about the history of their marching band, the Mean Green Machine, as well as MSVU alumni who became leaders like football player Jerry Rice, as well as United States Representative Katie Green Hall. Days ago, MSVU announced their plan to ensure that their campus is safe during their homecoming celebrations. They also plan to end their tailgating events at 9 p.m. Back to you, Megan.
You know, First Ladies usually have a cause, and you've already said you're interested in speaking out against bullying on social media.
I think it's very important because a lot of children and teenagers are getting hurt, and we need to teach them how to talk to each other, how to treat each other, and to be able to connect with each other on the right way.
It's an ironic choice, since her own husband sent out a stream of pretty nasty tweets during the campaign.
Tonight, the Kansas Young Republicans chapter is shut down by state GOP leaders after a report by Politico claims that the chapter's chair and vice chair were a part of racist group chats. The report published today reveals leaked conversations between leaders of young Republican groups across the country, making remarks targeting African Americans, Jews, and other minorities. Ana Valdez joins us from the newsroom with what local lawmakers are now saying about the situation. Ana?
Rachel, we've been hearing from several Republican lawmakers. They tell us they condemn these actions by Chair Alex Dwyer and Vice Chair William Hendricks. Hendricks had previously worked with Kansas Attorney General Chris Kobach's office. In a statement to 12 News, Kobach's office said the comments are inexcusable and that Hendricks was terminated as soon as they became aware of the messages. The chair of the Kansas Republican Party also responded to the Politico story, saying the party leadership is disgusted and that the views expressed in the chats do not reflect the beliefs of Kansas Republicans as a whole. The Kansas Young Republicans organization is now inactive. We also spoke with the Kansas Young Democrats, who say they condemn the messages as well and are encouraging the public to ask, where are these young Republicans learning this kind of behavior?
I would encourage everyone to also think about where these young Republicans learned this rhetoric from. If there's an issue with a faction within their party, it's clear that there are some other things happening within the leadership of the Kansas Republican Party as well.
We reached out to William Hendricks and Alex Dwyer, but did not receive a comment back. We also tried to contact the Kansas Young Republicans, but did not receive a response. Rachel?
Anna, thank you.
Let me say something that gets to the very crux of the matter, and this may be offensive for some to hear who are not on the side that we're on. White people, we have been the problem for 400 years.
Say that again.
Let me say it one more time for those of you who didn't hear me. White people, we have been the problem for 400 years.
And first tonight at 5, a 12 News investigation. Federal authorities arrested a Kenosha man they say was suggesting people shoot ICE agents posting online.
If ICE shows up to your neighborhood, I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it. It's time to start shooting at them. If they show up to your neighborhood...
Prosecutors say that TikTok is from Andrew Stanton, now behind bars. Investigative reporter James Stratton shows us the video federal prosecutors say he posted that landed him in jail.
We've never been better than this. Go shoot that.
The TikTok videos federal prosecutors say Andrew Stanton posted refer multiple times to shooting at federal agents.
If ICE shows up to your neighborhood, I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it. It's time to start shooting at them.
Prosecutors charged him with threats to assault, kidnap, or murder a U.S. official, a federal offense.
Whoever wants to take what I say as threats might just need to look inside and see what they're defending.
Court records show someone reported Stanton's TikTok accounts to the state's Threat Analysis Center in August, and federal agents tried speaking to him by knocking on his door and calling him, but made no contact. Yet the posts, prosecutors say, kept coming. They say, including one video saying, quote, "When there are mass shootings, they are successful. People die and people are terrorized. You could apply that to other people, federal agents," end quote. And then a text exchange between an agent identifying himself as a supervisor named Joe who wanted to talk. Prosecutors say Stanton messaged several times back with comments such as, quote, "Please die. It will help future generations. Kill yourself, Fed, and hang yourself," end quote. Prosecutors say Stanton also sent a meme referencing the Charlie Kirk murder with a caption, quote, "This should be a lesson on how to deal with fascists. You don't debate them, you delete them," end quote. Later, prosecutors say he posted a video naming that federal agent with whom he texted.
If ICE shows up to your neighborhood, I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it. It's time to start shooting at them. If they show up to your neighborhood, and I'm talking to you, Border Patrol Officer Joe, it's time we start shooting at Joe.
Federal authorities arrested Stanton last Wednesday. He's now in the Kenosha County Jail on a single felony charge. A judge ordered him in custody until his trial, set for a preliminary hearing tomorrow morning in federal court. In the newsroom, I'm James Stratton.
Now, Stanton's attorney did not return a request for comment. Neither did U.S. Customs and Border Protection.
So, you know, these events that keep coming up, instead of just reacting, dealing with them one at a time and being shocked each time we have another event that surfaces that is brought to our attention, we need to function from the position of an analysis that clarifies we are in a total system structure of racism, white supremacy, and that is why we are seeing the kinds of behaviors from individuals, be it Donald Sterling or be it George Zimmerman or any of the other cases that come to our attention. There is a reason that these cases exist. And I want to also talk about, in this case, they talked about mental health, but also gun control. And we have to begin to understand, I say you can't understand the gun mania if you don't understand racism, white supremacy. The gun is the answer to conscious and or subconscious, the answer, the response to the white collective feeling they can be genetically annihilated by black genetic material. And the gun is a great equalizer. I encourage everybody to get a copy of the ISIS papers and read.
3 weeks ago, a gunman opened fire on a Dallas immigration office, killing 2 detainees and injuring another. Several conservative elected officials have called the shooter a violent leftist. But new details show the shooting may be more about notoriety than ideology. Caroline Love from member station KERA in Dallas reports.
Joshua Yan's parents told local police their son was a, quote, loner who spent most of his time playing online games, according to an incident report recently obtained by NPR. The 29-year-old lived with his parents on a tree-lined cul-de-sac in Fairview, a suburb north of Dallas. His parents told Fairview police their son didn't have friends or a romantic partner and rarely engaged in conversation. This was the second shooting at an ICE facility in North Texas. All those injured were immigrants who were in ICE custody. Law enforcement says Yan left a note saying the attack was aimed at ICE agents. One of the shell casings found at the scene had the inscription anti-ICE. His brother told NBC News he didn't think Yan was interested in politics. Several conservative elected officials have blamed the left's criticism of ICE for the attack.
Because here's what happens when Democrats like Gavin Newsom did say that these people are part of an authoritarian government.
That was Vice President J.D. Vance at an event in North Carolina after the Dallas shooting. The ideology of individuals who commit this kind of violence can be difficult to label. Rachel Kleinfeld is a political violence expert and a senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Kleinfeld says they often have a hodgepodge of political views.
These shooters tend to want to use violence as a way of making their lives meaningful.
John Lewis from George Washington University's program on extremism says any infamy can be attractive for someone desperate to leave a legacy, even if it's controversial. And he says the internet amplifies the lure of notoriety.
For a lot of these individuals who are so deep in these hyper-violent, really just dehumanizing online spaces, the idea of committing that very public act of violence is appealing.
People who commit acts of political violence are often socially isolated, and many struggle with their mental health. Yan's parents told police he wasn't being treated for or diagnosed with any mental health conditions. Yan was born and raised in Allen, Texas. According to the police report, his behavior changed after he moved home after living in Washington State 4 or 5 years ago. Yan died by suicide after he shot the detainees at the Dallas ICE field office. Kleinfeld says perpetrators of public attacks are struggling with their sense of self and are looking for a target for their aggression. And they're hearing a lot about politics in the media and from family and friends.
People who commit ideological violence tend to have had an identity disturbance in their life. They're not quite sure who they are, and they're searching for a new identity.
Back in Fairview, Yan's neighbor Sherry Davis expressed shock that someone from her quiet suburban community would commit such a heinous act.
I would have never imagined that such a thing, someone that felt so disenfranchised would live so close to me.
And experts warn for socially isolated individuals whose only connections are online spaces that glorify violence, the infamous shooters like Yan Gang could be alluring. For NPR News, I'm Caroline Love in Dallas.
That if you want ultimate expression of white supremacy and the white supremacist mentality, and you want to put it in the form of one person that I would name, and that's something I very seldom do, it would be Jeffrey Dahmer. He's the ultimate expression of white supremacy. Everything that he was doing, working in a chocolate factory, the whole 9 yards, and storing black male bodies in canisters of lye and alcohol and whatnot, got them in the refrigerator, and cannibalism and all of that, and calm, very methodical. Even when questioned by the law enforcement officers, very calm. Hannibal Lecter.
Frozen femurs in the freezer. Jeffrey Dahmer.
Convicted killer Maxwell Anderson will have to pay more than $90,000 in restitution as part of his punishment for killing Sade Robinson. Derek Rose joining us now from the newsroom with the newest developments in this case.
Yeah, let's break down the numbers, Blake. The judge ordered Maxwell Anderson to pay nearly $36,000 to Robinson's mother, $17,000 to her father, and nearly $38,000 to the Crime Victim Compensation Fund for funeral and burial costs. Anderson is serving a life sentence for killing Sade Robinson last year after a first date, dismembering her body and burning her car. Today, Anderson attended the restitution hearing virtually. Now, despite the ruling from the judge about the restitution amounts, Anderson's lawyer acknowledged he may never be able to fulfill the obligations while serving a life sentence in prison. Sade Robinson's mother told the judge the money is the furthest thing from her mind.
This wasn't about a financial restitution. We're not monetary people, but the recognition of the pain that was caused and the life that was taken, my beautiful angel. This restitution in this case is about more than just this money. It's about accountability. It's about acknowledging that what was done has forever changed me and ensuring that this kind of harm is not dismissed or minimized for no other crime victims. I just want peace, and I want my daughter's name to be remembered in dignity.
That was Sheena Scarborough. Now, several times during this hearing, she referred to Anderson, her daughter's killer, as a demon. Now, she did share some frustration not knowing where Anderson had been transferred to out of Wisconsin, but a plaque on the wall behind Anderson at that hearing today indicates he's currently serving his life sentence in Ohio. Blake.
All right, Derek Rose reporting for us tonight in the newsroom. Thank you, Derek.
5, 4, 3.
She's pure alligator, pure white.
2.
Albinos that do make it to reproductive age can't find a mate because they look funny.
1.
Albino affairs.
Well, they're counting squirrels in Olney, Illinois, and in fact, they're almost done. News 10's Garrett Larson shows us what this year's count has in store.
Each fall here in the city of Olney, volunteers come together to gather a count of rare albino white squirrels. While Olney is not the only city in the U.S. with these white squirrels, they're the only city that counts them.
So there's a few other places in the United States that have white squirrels. One of the ones that comes to mind most is Brevard, North Carolina. They have white squirrels as well. We're the only place that does a count that has studied them from a scientific approach. And, you know, it's on our vehicles, it's on our police patches, it's on our, you know, everything that has to do with Olney.
So far, the count has been lower, and former city clerk Belinda Hinton explains some of the factors attributing to it.
Some of the factors that will affect the count will maybe not have enough counters, so that kind of throws off the count. Some people may have to take up more than one count, and that kind of gets you out of the time frame that we're counting from. Another factor is weather. Usually the first count will be nice warm weather, and then the second count or the third count, the weather will change, temperature will drop, and the squirrels stay in later.
Hinton ran the count for 14 years, and despite retiring, remains a part of the count each year. Hinton provides freshly harvested corn for residents to feed the squirrels, but also rehabilitates 2 white squirrels herself. She mentioned they also count foxes, the squirrels' biggest natural predators.
Some of the natural predators seem to be the biggest threat to our population, and that's why we count them, just to see where we stand.
The final count is happening this Saturday, with the data to be released soon after. Reporting in Olney, I'm Garrett Larson.
Is my descent. Here I'm far from home. I dwell within a land of spins, meant for many men, not my tone.
We are remembering R&B singer D'Angelo, the Grammy Award-winning singer whose real name was Michael D'Angelo Archer, died today following a battle with pancreatic cancer. He was only 51 years old. And pancreatic cancer is the third leading cause of cancer deaths in the U.S., but it ranks at 10th most common cancer diagnosis.
In part because it's difficult to detect early, and unfortunately the average survival time for pancreatic cancer is pretty low. According to the American Cancer Society, just under 52,000 people will die of pancreatic cancer across the country this year. More men are diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and it's more common in African Americans. The percentage of pancreatic cancer deaths is highest among people between the ages of 65 and 74. But doctors at Duke Health are working to reverse those trends. Dewan Hogard has a closer look at the research happening there.
D'Angelo's death today due to pancreatic cancer is leading to conversations tonight surrounding the disease and specifically what to look out for.
It feels shocking. We lost D'Angelo today.
It's today's news in the music industry that is catching everyone by surprise. Grammy Award-winning R&B artist D'Angelo, dead at just 51 years old due to pancreatic cancer.
When you hear about pancreatic cancer, it's usually at the end of someone's journey, or you're getting, the bad news that they passed.
The icon's death bringing to light the significance of the cancer, the 10th most common cancer and the third leading cause of cancer death in the U.S.
The first thing is not to go straight to the computer and look at the numbers and think that there's no hope because the death rates are high and it seems like a challenging disease.
Dr. Daniel Nussbaum is a medical expert with Duke, specializing in pancreatic cancer, a disease that comes with a 5-year survival rate of slightly more than 13%. However, improvement is on the horizon.
I would say that the past 3 to 5 years have probably been the most exciting time we've had in terms of new therapies.
At 51, D'Angelo's age puts him on the younger side of the cancer that usually affects older men, primarily black men.
He was so young and still had so much to give us.
According to experts, pancreatic cancer is harder to detect because the symptoms tend to appear after the cancer has spread. And if symptoms persist over time and don't get any better,
that's a sign that something more serious might be going on and absolutely deserves a visit to your doctor or to the emergency department, someplace where you're going to be able to get evaluated quickly.
And so far this year, numbers show that there have been nearly 52,000 pancreatic cancer deaths right here in the U.S., with the median age at death 73 years old. In downtown Raleigh, Dewan Hogard, ABC 11 Eyewitness News.
Context of White Supremacy. Worthless Negro from Virginia. People, I guess, who are not familiar with the late D'Angelo. If you've listened to the Cows, even if you're not like into music per se, you got more scientific counter-racist pursuits, A+ for you. But we have played lots of D'Angelo over the years here at the Context of White Supremacy. In fact, there is a world prior to us actually doing counter-racist dialogue on this platform. We just played music. Marvin Gaye, Nina Simone, D'Angelo. Another worthless Negro from Virginia, dead at the age of 51. Now, that is some black male privilege for you. 51. 51 years old. 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 51 years o Brother say he did a little bit better than Mike Jacks, didn't he? Brother Mike, MJ, died at 50. D'Angelo got 1 extra year on him. Black male privilege. Even, in fact, he did way better than my black brother, Marvel Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, 44. Black male privilege. October 18, 2025. So I've been told. I would like to, not a music expert, not an expert on life and times of D'Angelo. I'm sure they would not invite me to have a piece of sweet potato pie at the wake or, attend the homegoing services or anything of that nature. But I will say, man, one, just that right there, I've said that all the time. We have, people pass away. Really, I even said this when Dr. Welsing passed. Can't believe it's almost been a decade, but she, in her 80s, 82, I got it, memory might be mad, but I think she was 82 when she passed, right at the beginning of 2016. I even said that, man, that is kind of disgraceful. She should have been with us she should have still been with us. Healthy, taking care of herself, got all her mental faculties and everything, writing, doing research, working on the problem. But I mean, 51. Like, to put that in context, if Dr. Welsing had passed at 51, we would have had no ISIS papers because she wrote that after 51. If Fuller had passed at 51, not 95, we would have had no code book, word guide, updated code book, none of that. It's a lot of folks who've made, substantial counter-racist contributions that happened after 50. Man, he could have wrote a book about counter-racism in music. Nah. And that is exactly what is intended, I'd say, particularly for the privileged black male. That is exactly. You heard it in the report. They said, oh man, pancreatic cancer. That's what we lost D'Angelo to at 51. They said that's what you're supposed to hear at the end of your journey. You 75. Bunch of gray hairs. Got all your grandchildren, great-grandchildren around. Oh, it's been great. Oh, he did. I retired and did this. Oh, we were at the wedding. Oh, there for the grandchildren's birth. And oh, it's been amazing. What a ride. Oh, it's been great. That's when it's, oh, he died. Oh, again. Not 51, except they said, hey, that one group, because mostly males tend to get it, and they said then it tend to be the privileged African American male gets the, and in fact, that article, they put Chadwick Boseman and they put D'Angelo and Shav, Richard Roundtree, they put them all up and they said gastrointestinal cancer got all of them. Now, Richard Roundtree, thankfully, did get to live later in life, so he almost got to do it. Like I just said, you're supposed to be 70s, 80s, and wow, lived a great life, and, good 60 years of movie making and privileged black, as much privilege as you can get. There you go. But 44, 51. I'm horrified that white people are most to blame, and it rings in my ears. Dr. Ruby Lathan, she told us we were talking about Chadwick Boseman. She said these are lifestyle cancers, and she explained, what does that mean? That's when you just eat French fries, and pizza, drink cognac, tequila. Mad Dog 2020. I don't drink no water, high fructose corn syrup. I eat bad foods, greasy food, Popeye chicken. That's what I eat. Drink liquor, corn liquor all the time. You do this sort of thing all the time. Develop a habit of that. Lifestyle cancers. That's what she said. Dr. Ruby Lathan, certified nutritionist, expert about that health and what you're supposed to be eating correct. But that's what she called them, lifestyle cancers. You shouldn't be having this at 51. Very sad. Even worse, I did not know privileged black male D'Angelo had offspring with Angie Stone, who also died this year. That is why replace white supremacy with justice immediately. They had to go ask his son, what is it to lose both of your parents in the same year? Man. Anyway, even back to the medical component, because I did appreciate they said, wow, that is so painful, and make us talk about this and these lifestyle cancers. I did see a number of articles like the LA Times and major publications. They talked about, obviously in Virginia, they talked about the passing of D'Angelo, even NPR. Man, I saw a lot of commentary about, ooh, child, them delicious abs, and woof, that was a good-looking black privileged male. I do remember D'Angelo speaking specific. In fact, he put it in a song and saying, dang, people talk or ask how I've been doing, what's up with me. I hope they are talking about more than my abs. And I thought, dang, for someone to pass, and we're in a system of white supremacy racism, I didn't really hear no one talk about, oh man, them lyrics on Africa, a land built for many men, not my tone. I didn't really hear no investigate. What was he talking about on that song? Africa, Grammy award-winning artist. That's the last song, album that they talked about. Africa. Wow. Nope, I didn't really hear much about it. Hey, D'Angelo, I didn't really hear no commentary. Did he sample a lecture from Dr. Khalid Muhammad on Black Messiah? Yes, I didn't hear nothing. And I mean nothing. Yeah, he sampled Dr. Khalid Muhammad on Black Messiah, not white, green, all that. People want to brag about being Negro. It's on Black Messiah, Dr. Khalid Muhammad. No, I didn't hear nothing about that, but I did hear a lot about, woo, child. He was delicious. Delectable Negro to the very end. Sad. Very sad. Maybe there would be encouragement to listen. Is he lying to us, Dr. Khalid Muhammad? You can check and see. Any hoodles, shouldn't be that difficult. I mean, he's from the land of Nat Turner. Why would it be that difficult to... Yeah. 51. And in fact, I'm even more sensitive about it because I was cursed. I was going to say that at the beginning. When I saw this, I said, oh my God, that is reprehensible. An indictment of the system of white supremacy. I don't know how you're supposed to feel if you are a Negro and you haven't made it to 50 or 40 and you think of Chadwick Boseman. Oh my Lord, what? I ain't even got a Grammy. I don't have Raphael Sadiq on speed dial. Man, I don't have Lauryn Hill, Miss Lauryn Hill on speed dial. Ooh. Ooh. In fact, I even had to pause, hold back my nausea. I just told you, I went University of Washington. They had a public health forum on racism. What did I hear that I could have told my black brother D'Angelo, see if he could make it with us to 52? Nothing. Because they didn't talk about nothing health related for black males. And I asked them about that. I said, dang, we don't want D'Angelo to be around. You don't want because it was a non-white female, non-black, non-white female in charge. I said, you don't want your dad to be here. You don't want your uncle to be here. You don't want your brother to be here. I know you don't want me to be here too much longer, but you like D'Angelo. You like Voodoo. Don't you want them to be here? Yeah. Why don't y'all have something for male, non-white male health? I told you, how many black, non-white male students do you have in the School of Public Health at the University of Washington? They told me 2. This what you intend. D'Angelo dead at 51. No, that's the system of white supremacy working exactly. And like I said, these are the people that's supposed to have privilege, and they out of here. 44, gone. 51, gone. They even mentioned Tupac in the report. 25, gone. What about all the rest of us who don't have that much privilege? Oh well, keep your head up. That's what it said. We're gonna get some murals for you. As I posted about Mr. D'Angelo's passing at 51, and I called him a privileged black male because that's what I was told. These are the representatives, the entertainers. You get to be on TV and make videos. White people give you a Grammy or Oscar or whatever, put you in a movie or what have you. This is what we were told by scholars, reputable college professors. 51. And I've said that for years. If such a thing as black male privilege exists, maybe we could get a few more Negro male doctors. I would like D'Angelo to still be here. Maybe Chadwick Boseman too. Could we do that if we got a teaspoon of privilege? I say to make me a doctor. Just a few. Floyd Mayweather might need a doctor. You get the brain damage, Anyway, I've said this for years to point out what I feel is racist folly and black misandry. All of it. The rhetoric of black male privilege. I posted that with D'Angelo, my sorrow about his loss, family's loss, all of that. And again, if you've listened to the cows, we've included a lot of D'Angelo. A person hopped on social media, purportedly Negro, could be a lie, cursing me. What do you mean privilege? Again, I say I'm very estranged from cows listeners, non-white people in general, people really in general. But that's the sort of thing that I point at. One, that is in Fuller's Code. So many of us allege some familiarity with Fuller. He passed this year too, right? Hey, at least I'm gonna follow the code for a little while, honor Fuller. I don't none of that. That's in the 10 stops. No cursing. Supposed to be minimizing conflict with other non-white people. I really, just being truthful, I tried to pause. I cannot think of a time where I've been motivated to curse or begin conflict with another victim of racism because of something they posted online that had nothing to do with me. They weren't talking about Gus T, the cows, just, posting whatever. And I take issue. I don't like how they posted it, or I don't agree with what they said. I've had that happen multiple times this year where non-white people have cursed me out and called me names and all this for posting a news report on my social media page. And they got upset about it. Non-white people look for conflict. And again, I always say with social media, it's so easy for racists to just put up a picture and pretend I'm a Negro and go on and cause all sorts of conflict. So it easily could have been a race soldier. Very possible. Either way, though, I still say, like, man, I've been mocking and pointing out the error of black male privilege for a long time. If now is the first time you're recognizing that, and this is how you respond to, even if you don't agree with how I phrased it, that's your response, beat it. Do not ever talk to me again. If you don't listen to the program and this is your first time hearing me pointing out that phrase, black male privilege, and that's your response, I do not ever want to talk to you again. Beat it. And that's even, I've seen that when black people, oh my God, that is so standard. Like the disdain that people classified as black have for other black people. I've seen this. Oh, I just said Dr. Welsing. I've seen the exact same behavior almost a decade previously. When Dr. Welsing passed, literally people classified as black, and ain't no ambiguity here. These are for sure classified as black on this here plantation, came out and, yeah, I've studied with Dr. Welsing and interviewed her and read her book 15 times and highlighted it. Oh, I learned so much. But I'm going to tell you coons one thing. You come out here and disparage the Queen Mother, Dr. Welsing, and I will dot your I today, you Uncle Tom, no count, handkerchief head. Like, whoa, wait a minute. When did Doc? And I've seen this. And wait a minute. This is, the way we respond in mourning. Someone just passed, and I'm going to look to get in conflict with a Negro because I'm so upset about Dr. Welsing's passing. I'm so upset about Brother D'Angelo's passing. I got to curse out another black person. I got to get in conflict with another black person. Anyway, estranged C.O.W.S listeners, non-white people, victims of racism in general, other earthlings in total. Mr. Fuller said that all the time, I thought. Minimize conflict. We ignore that totally. Minimize conflict. Anyway, maybe even eating correctly. I was going to say that too. Brother D'Angelo met because of the system of white supremacy. They said he struggled with a lot of mental health issues. I'm not surprised. Even to him leaving us at 51, he said, man, he had his weight had got up to like 300 pounds at certain points, and he was not a very tall person. He was, I'm told, kind of short, so he did not have a frame to support 300 pounds. Most of us do not, but him being a little on the short side just made it even more important to not let his weight get that out of control. But I mean, we are in an obesogenic environment, and that's the plan. That's in Monsters Ball. I told you can't be no black dude in America and be overweight and eat the fried chicken. And in Virginia, like all that southern soul food and fried, greasy, and all the rest. And then you're going to be terrorized, the land of Nat Turner. Delectable Negro. I can see how that might happen to a privileged black male. Lifestyle cancers, and then you're not with us at 51. Actually, they showed his offspring. His offspring looks overweight as well. Obesogenic environment. Let's see. From that, we are 30 years from the Million Man March. Now, I don't know if that means anything at all. If we have any listeners, if you were at the march, participated, have any remembrances, let us know. I think Mr. Fuller, he was living in D.C. at the time, so I suspect he would have been there just kind of by default. Like, you go out and stand on your porch, I was there. Just how close did I get to the festivities? But yeah, I'm pretty sure he was probably there, probably got a speech or two somewhere of him sharing some of his thoughts on what transpired. But 30 years ago, Minister Louis Farrakhan, Nation of Islam, I guess that might be black male privilege too, since it was supposed to be for just black dudes, and man, not let black females see that go. That's Leroy again. Anyway, but that was 30 years. In fact, importantly, the context was the Million Man March happened about literally 10 days after the privileged black male Orenthal James was acquitted. That, I think, is super important for context. And I guess that happened like 10 days before Susan Smith accused Leroy of stealing her white children. So, like, what a month for the black dude. October 1995. That's when you can just go kind of flip through the paper from the beginning of the month through the end. You'll see like Johnny Cochran, O.J. Simpson. What? Negro in a toboggan did what? And then Louis Farrakhan, race hating, no count. I know he did it. Not gonna let black females. What? Amazing month to just go back and check it. And or ask your parents, depending on your age. So I guess if you're on the younger side, ask your parents, did you go? Do you remember all of this? Did you think about going? Did you think Louis Farrakhan was racist? Like, all of that. Just see what they say. Like, if you have folks connected to the DC area, but there should be a lot of material in color, vivid, lots of print. And that Spike Lee did that whole movie, Get on the Bus. Lots of important material about an event that is a response to the system of white supremacy, racism. Even, I might even say, some parallel to now having white people stomping around in the streets talking about no kings, whatever that means, when in a royalist system, talking about no kings. I guess we ain't got Prince Andrew, but hey, we still got King Charles, don't we? Talking about no kings. I even said that, like, man, white people will stomp around and roll around in the street for anything or for no reason at all. White people in Seattle, now just within the last 24 hours. Last night, Friday, they were out drunk, rolling around in the streets over the white ball game. Just about 16 hours later, they were out yelling, rolling around in the streets, name calling the president. Say they down with fascism, no can. Like, y'all come out and will yell and write. Now, look here. Now, if the ball game doesn't go the right way, they'll be back out in the streets on Monday. The Mariners done ruined it, and we waste our time in this ball club. Come on, man. And wait a minute. I forgot. Wait a minute. White ball game so dominant. Got the ball game tomorrow. I totally forgot. Seahawks. I don't know. Maybe they'll do right. Maybe they won't. They'll have another reason. Run out and jump in the street tomorrow too. So, I mean, come on, man. Come on. They will waste time at it. The only business, the system of white supremacy racism. And I saw white people out in the street for both events, the ball game and the protest today. I didn't see nobody with no paraphernalia about replace white supremacy with justice. Nothing of the sort. They clowned yesterday and they clowned today. Probably with narcotics and alcohol yesterday at the ball game and then today at the protest too, because they got the recreational wacky tobacco here. So, let's see. But Million Man March, if we got any folks who were present, let us know. 720-716-7300, the code 564-943#. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. That report where they were talking about the 30 years since the march, and they said that some of the results are that the governor, current of Maryland, is a black male, privileged, and then the mayor of Baltimore currently is also a black male. Now, having a black mayor, I don't really think that's of much consequence at all. Shout to Kwame Kilpatrick. But a black governor, black male governor, shout to Doug Wilder. I guess it depends on your perspective. You know, President Trump says that Baltimore is a hellhole. So it depends on your perspective. And hey, we are still in the system of white supremacy racism. So Governor Moore has not corrected all. Let's see. In Alaska, in Kipnuk, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, they said the population or people that are indigenous to some of these smaller regions of Alaska, these are dark people, melanin, non-white people. If you see them on TV, they said they had to evacuate like 1,000 people, and they said this was just after they had canceled. President Trump, white people, Trump administration had canceled federal funding for flooding to this part of the world. And I said, man, I totally believe white people, they have scientists and people who go, that's their whole job. You have people who, meteorologists, people, they study weather patterns, study them for like, what's the weather patterns for Alaska for the last 5,000 years. They have people, they go to school and spend 20, 30 years, probably some right here at the University of Washington, go to school and spend 30, 40 years studying weather patterns like, them, no count Eskimos and, snow niggers, they about to get it. Ooh-wee. When you think it's going to happen? Any day now. Just, it's not a matter of if, just a matter of time. But we're going to cancel the funding. That way they'll just, we don't have to worry about it. Just, we know what's going to happen. And then, bang. I totally believe that's about what it is. Because the whole time they've been saying, we were anything DEI. We won't go to the Environmental Protection Agency. Any sort of funding. Look like the niggers might... They can't breathe, and we done dumped lead on Freddie Gray and everything. No. We're not going to do no funding for that. Ooh, no. Matter of fact, anything that's got languaging around environmental race, no, we're not going to cut. We're not doing no DEI. They probably just look, say, what? You got all these dark people. We're not doing that. Nah. And then, bang, man, we got to do all these evacuations. And they said they flipped, this dark people, flipped his house upside down. Upside down. I'm not a carpenter. I'm going to go ahead and guess that's a total loss. I don't know how you correct that, put the house, and then it's water. Come on. And then they said 1,000 people got to be evacuated. Come on. And I know how they do evacuations of dark people in this part of the world. I'm very familiar, seen that before. Let's see. In New Jersey, I just thought that was wild because they mentioned Rutgers again. I told you, Rutgers, I just saw the folks, they came right here to play the University of Washington, like literally they were right in my face, and we're reading Asada Shakur, her aunt's autobiography, very much rooted in New Jersey, where we're going to end up at the cop shooting and prison break and all the rest of it. Just, well, and even Cranberry with the rape and sodomy and all that. But dang. And then we just had the caller who dialed in and was telling us about going to the Metropolitan Museum in New York, the exhibit about the dandy Negro male fashion. And so then this is at the Newark Museum of Art. And whole exhibit, it's Stay, the Black Women of the 19th Century, Newark, and it's by Noelle Lorraine Williams. But I thought all about white supremacy, racism, this is sort of thing. Hey, if you need things to do, turn that screen off, get your child up, and you get some exercise too, right? Because you have to walk around
the museum, look at the exhibits and everything. You can get your child. You all can talk about the exhibit. They could write something, do a vlog, anything. Take pictures. They got a camp, all kinds of things. But if I was in the New Jersey area, tri-state area, maybe even, we go check that out. It's going to be there until 2028, so you got a while. In fact, that Dandy exhibit at the Metropolitan Museum in New York, that will be there, I think, for another, 10 days. You still got time. If you're in the NYC area, go check that out. And then if you're around Newark, there you got years to go and check out the exhibit on these different black females. And they specifically, everything that they mentioned, I found intriguing. But when they talked about Hannah Manville, black female, Newark, and they said she was literally dragged out of her residence at 90. Now that was presented as, hey, this is black resilience, agency, and I'm not going to just, take this lying down. I get that victims guaranteed qualified. I do not think of that. And I just think of myself no, I would not think of myself, boy, that Gus is defiant. He 90 years old and he just sat in that chair, boy. That boy, he can barely stand good, but he grizzled and no, just wow. What Fuller say, worthy of great pity, because they didn't say, defend. They said they dragged her out at 90. And that's what I would expect. The system of white, oh yeah. In fact, we might nigger night. You gonna make us have to drag your old crotchety self out at 9? Oh, we gonna put you in the headlock and get in a few jabs on the way while we're dragging you. Waste our time with all this nonsense. We read about that in Invisible Man, and we just read about that right now. Same book I just mentioned. She talked about them stealing her parents' property. Not very much progress at all. But man, I even thought that's kind of tough to commemorate. Not that I would want it forgotten, but I mean, wow. Getting dragged, that's almost a big chunk of Negro history, 20th century and forward. Us being dragged out of a residence, dragged out of school, because they'll get you. You come up there and they tell you that they put Leroy in solitary confinement or put him in the remedial class, and you get too loud and they drag you off of the school property. That's been our history for about good, what do you think, about the last 100 years on the plantation? Getting security, sometimes black security. Sometimes the person dragging us will be classified as black. That's an Invisible Man too. They get Negro people to come when they evict you and drag you on and drag your stuff on out of there too. Get your chair too and drag that out. But that's at the museum, New Jersey. Newark, let's see. Wisconsin, there was so much about Wisconsin in the audio. I was there. Shannon, I'm going to guess Kobylarczyk, maybe? Kobylarczyzyk. Your guess is probably better than mine. But she was at the Brewers game against the L.A. Dodgers, who I had to escape last year when they won the World Series because they did riot, burn down L.A. before the wildfire. They were in Milwaukee playing the beloved Brew Crew, who I saw up close in person, and Shannon K is in the crowd talking to non-white people, talking to non-white veterans. And she getting mad because the ball team is, I told white people will riot and roll around in the street over any, I told what I just said, ball club winning. Woo, we go run. The ball club don't do right. Oh, I'm so, call lies. You done got on my nerves. You don't come out here. You, Shohei Ohtani, all of them. You check his papers. You check all of them's papers. Then where's what they call it? Alligator Alcatraz. I don't know which one is closest to Milwaukee, but round them all up right now. Mookie Betts, all of them. Magic Johnson, he one of the owners that did it. Put him in there too. Put them all in there. It's like, wait a minute, I'm a veteran. I done bled for my country and came out here to root on Otani and the Dodgers, and I like Magic Johnson too. And what you mean, Ice? What you mean you gonna call ice on me? And they said Shannon Kay, she worked at the Make-A-Wish Foundation. What? What? I thought that's when you have like the 7-year-old. They say, oh no, I got the cancer. Not the pancreatic cancer. I'm supposed to get it from a Negro male, but I got cancer and it's terrible. Oh no. And everybody feels bad and they say, what can we do? What do you want to do? And they say, oh man, I want to meet Magic Johnson or Brett Favre. They say Brett Favre, he's a welfare cheat, but we'll get Magic Johnson. And they bring him and they hook you up. You get to hang out for the day. Y'all go to the movies and, talk about fun time. I don't know, Donald Sterling, whatever, racism. That's what Make-A-Wish, that's what they do, right? Fun stuff. They hook up people that's got medical problems. What you mean you hiring racists at Make-A-Wish? They don't vet employees? They said she worked at the hiring agency. The name, what was it, Manpower? The staffing agency. Whoa, wait a minute. I know if this is one of them old raggedy temporary staffing agencies, you get day laborers and that sort of thing. I know you not trying to call ICE too aggressively because they got lots of reports talking about how those temp staffing agencies, they get over on Gomez, Pedro, Garcia, we gonna practice some white supremacy racism on you, cause see, they'll say, black get back. Leroy, Lakeisha, get on out of here, but we'll take Gomez. Come on. Now we're not gonna treat you correctly. We're not gonna pay you correctly. And hey, we might call ICE. So you keep that in mind. You get out there and do your job, and so we can only pay you maybe 2 cents an hour, but that's better than us calling ICE. Be here tomorrow and we'll get it right. Or maybe we'll call ICE if you don't come to that sort of thing. They got they've cut down whole forests. Got whole podcasts where they talk about that in great detail. So I know if you're affiliated with some sort of staffing employment agency where it's like temporary labor, love them wetbacks. We're going to practice racism, but we ain't going to bring Leroy and Lakeisha in here and hire them correctly. So give me more of these dark people. Maybe they got their paperwork. Maybe they don't. Bring them on in. And then I get mad, find out you're not rooting for the Brewers. What? You rooting for the Dodgers? What? Where's the number? Come on, all that because my ball club didn't win. And you done heckled me about this. Jesus. Let's see. When they talked about the murals and their importance in Los Angeles, one, I think artwork is important. I did all that talking about going to the museum. I go to museums. I've been to the Seattle Art Museum many times. Victim of racism, Mike Norris, who said he grew up in L.A. and try to put art in places for people who normally do not get art. And he said, in fact, they are just thought of as and used as commercials for products. Wow. Delectable Negro. I said, I wish I had heard that. Now I would go back. Not that I want to go back to L.A., but I would look a little differently, especially the areas where the black people live. What? Wow, just this is just a commercial. I would look a little. Is it Mad Dog 2020? Like, what's being advertised? Anyway. But he said it's a little bit more difficult to shoot people when you got a mural for justice in the background. I said, I don't know. Chris Rock, he's been joking for a good 30 years that black people, we love to gun down other black people on Martin Luther King Drive, Martin Luther King Way, Martin Luther King Street, that's pretty close to justice. Drum major for justice? I don't know. I think it's going to take a little bit more than a mural that says justice. Not that I'm against that, but I think it's going to take quite a bit more. In fact, hey, they dropped bombs on Martin Luther King Drive. So it's not, we gun you down in your Obama t-shirt. Shoot at Obama, in fact. Trump, you name it. So I think it's going to take quite a bit more, even though, like I said, I do respect murals being put up for black people and with a constructive message, not Mad Dog, menthol cigarettes, having sex with white people, LGBTQ, something constructive, justice, great. I don't think that's going to be particularly for Los Angeles, like Jesus Christ. That's not even going to do anything to get to. We probably won't even be able to see the mural because the air quality is so bad. Much less can we afford to live here much longer. Let's see. And they had that old tacky line, through struggle comes art for the Negro. I have no idea what that means. It sounds nauseatingly close to that racism has made us stronger. I do not think, you can just look at the behavior of the black people that you see. Are they just, wow, artistic and creative in a constructive manner in what they do through most of their time and energy? That is not what I see. Not even close. And particularly, even when you do start talking about creative artists, oh, you mean like D'Angelo, Chadwick Boseman? That's what you mean? Tupac Shakur? That's what you mean? In fact, they had the audacity. They said, we got murals to Nipsey and Pac. Now I realize those are LA icons, really, at this point, global icons, but particular interest for LA, California. I got all that. I am not inspired by images of dead black males. We got that here in Seattle. I'm not interested in seeing lots of portraits of dead black dudes. We got Biggie over here, and we got Pac there, and now we can put Chadwick Boseman up there too. I think, no. That does not make me think, wow, maybe I shouldn't bust Leroy upside the head. Pac is spitting. Which image exactly of Pac are we gonna put the mural up? Him with the middle finger? Him with him spitting at the camera? Like, which image of me seeing Pac is gonna make me? Yes, I'm not gonna smack Leroy upside the head today. Replace white supremacy with justice. Maybe that's what the mural should say. Don't smack Leroy upside the head today. Try not to do it tomorrow either. Don't smack black people. Minimize conflict with black people. Like, put that on the mural. We had a white professor from the University of Alabama, Roll Tide. She told us, hey, black people are real susceptible to concussions. Yeah, they got the football and Roll Tide and all that, but black people get lots of concussions off the football field. She said, I try and tell them, hey, don't smack Leroy in the head. Just put that on the mural. Don't smack Jamal in the head. Minimize conflict with non-white. Just put that on the mural. See if y'all can put that up plain. Pretend Tupac said that at some point. Let's see. When they mentioned the Nickerson projects in LA, I was a little bit upset that I'm going to be the one mentioning this and not them, because that was LA Public Radio. So, I mean, who should know better? The Nickerson projects. Rodney Nickerson is the grandson of the black male who founded the Nickerson Projects. Rodney Nickerson is one of the victims who died in the Altadena Palisades wildfires beginning of this year. 82-year-old privileged black male died trying to save his house. And we were told the black people in Altadena, like Rodney Nickerson, some of those deaths were because they didn't get the information. This is going to be an apocalyptic event. Run for your life. They got that information way late. People like Rodney Nickerson. That's what I thought of, but they didn't mention nothing about that. Like, dang, that's important, right? Nah. Now they can put him on a mural too. Climate change. Let's see. That section, I don't have offspring. That segment about speech impediments and screen time. Oh my God. Like, man, before you hop in the bed to have offspring, there should be lots to chat about. Wait a minute. Like, whoa. We got that they can't even speak correctly because we've been on our iPhone the whole time. And they said it's not just that you done stuck an iPhone in that child's hand at, 6 months old, a year, and that's crippling for them. But it's also because you, the parent, are on the phone and they can't really see you talking to have an engaged dialogue with, like, whoa. They said metaphor, but they said parents being on that phone is probably like secondhand smoke for the offspring. We probably don't even know all of the harms at this point. Whoa. There's so much to discuss before you have offspring. The big thing, I feel a little less retarded because they said screens, period. I said, whoa, if you're going to have a child, get rid of the television. Ain't I been saying that for years? They said, man, that moron Gusty, I got my Netflix for a reason. Great. If you're going to have offspring, get rid of the television. We do the exact opposite. We had folks call in and said we gave the child an iPhone at 1. Come on, man. Come on. Dr. Welsing, again, the genius. She'd been deceased for a decade. She said more than 10 years ago, they getting addicted to these phones. Ooh-wee, that's impacting their brain, computer, and everything. Man, they had barely had iPhones when she was saying that. Now they got a decade of research. Ooh, that nigger woman that we didn't even want connected with the American Medical Association, she might have been right more than a decade ago. Boy, was she right. Put that phone down. Put that phone down. Put that phone down. And hey, if you don't want to put your phone down, keep them pants up. Don't have them children. Pick one. Put the phone down, pants up. Phone down, pants up. Pick one. Let's see. It's lots I could say. It's lots I could say about that identity disturbance. They said that white fella down in Texas who went and shot up the ICE facility, that he wanted the notoriety. Oh, my Lord. I almost played it. White people kill for fun. You don't have Leroy and Jamal go out and say, I'm going to kill me 15,000 white people so they'll know my name. That we'll go fight Leroy and such. We'll do all that. But I mean, really? I'm just sitting around. I ain't got no grudge. I ain't got no beef. I just go do some killing so y'all will know. Why would you think that? You think they didn't sit around and watch the Ted Bundy document, and then they sat around and watched the Jeff Dahmer document, and then they sat around and watched the Columbine documentary and then they watch the BTK. Why would someone think if I go out and not kill enough people, man, they will know me, get Brad Pitt to make a movie? Ooh, I'll go from being a loser white dude. The identity disturbance that they talked about, that is white genetic annihilation. What identity is being disturbed? My white identity. He went and attacked the ICE facility. I said then, he put that nonsense out saying he's mad with ICE. They said the only people he shot were detainees, non-white people. Now maybe he got bad aim. Maybe. White people brag. We practice. I've been shooting since I was 6. White people kill for fun. That's the identity disturbance. And Dr. Welsing was ahead of her time because she said that it's going to be more of this. White people feeling anxious. And really, that's what I made my whole existence about, that being disturbed. What am I going to do? That's why that white woman at the baseball game, she got so mad, my team losing. Dr. Welsing got that whole passage about baseball, bat as a phallic symbol and all that. That white woman got so mad, got this old Mexican beaner nigger up here yelling in my face about my brew crew team losing. Throw him back over the board. All ICE people, I can't take it. She said, where's the lynch mob at? Get him. Cut his penis off right now. That's what it would have been. Like, rewind 50, 60 years. That's what it would have been. Call in. Really. Now, he ain't got his paperwork. Call ICE people right now. We gonna get you, see what you got to laugh about once we get you in solitary confinement. Laugh about that. Mock my brew crew. I was gonna say something about, it was a number of reports that they counted the squirrels in Olney, Illinois this week. Oh my, did you hear? They said, we're in the middle of a government shutdown. They said we got white volunteers because Olney is a racially restricted region. Real talk, I think they got more albino white squirrels than niggers in Olney. They said we went out and scientifically count. In fact, they brag, pop they collar. They got albino white squirrels in other places, North Carolina and all them other raggedy towns. But we, dirt off my shoulder, we scientifically count our albino white squirrels. I had to pause, like, wait a minute. I know I'm niggardly, privileged black male. I might croak and die tomorrow. Old gastrointestinal cancer, and got that old ignorant coon told him he wasn't eating right. Oh well. But do they have like albino purple squirrels? Do they have albino blue squirrels? Do they have albino fuchsia squirrels? I thought it's already assumed if you got albino squirrels, they're white. They got, just so you know, we scientifically count our albino white squirrels. White. We got it. Yes, got it. Okay. And we put them on everything. We know. I'm talking about we put them on the cop cars. We put them on the flag. It's our state mascot. We got it. Yeah, we got it. We got more albino white squirrels than niggers. We know. I'm going to tell you, as I listened to that report, I began to root for the foxes of Olney, Illinois. If I ever visit Olney, Illinois, I'm going to feed the foxes. I'm a root for my fox brothers. I hope they eat all the albino white squirrels. Feast, my fox brothers. Eat every last one of them. I was even curious, so do the white people, do they aggress against the foxes of the air? Like when they do the count, it's, oh no, we got, 100 fewer squirrels this year. Oh no, what are we going to do? We're going to kill the foxes. We're going to curb their pop. Do they do that sort of thing? Like, man, if they do, if I ever get to Olney, I'm going to feed the foxes. They got laws. You can't even look cross at the squirrels. They'll kill you. Cut your genitals off. But I'm going, and they might even have laws against feeding the foxes there too. I'm going to see. Number is 720-716-7300. The code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. I would like that. If someone ever goes to Olney, Illinois, I would like a white albino hat. If anybody gets to Olney, Illinois, I would like a hat that has the albino squirrel on it, some representation of Olney, Illinois, like, oh my. In fact, if I ever got there for October, now that I know this is when they do the count, real talk, I would sign up and volunteer to go out and let's do the count. So I could talk, you can interview people and talk to them like, what does it, white identity is right. They said, we put the squirrels on everything. That's how we that's what makes Olney, Illinois special. What else does anybody know about Olney, Illinois other than albino white squirrels? 720-716-7300. The code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. I was going to say fun fact, but that's so distasteful. What shall I say? Tragic fact? Sheena Scarborough, Sade C. Robinson's mother, she is an Alcorn State alumnus. They had all those shootings in Mississippi, including at Alcorn State. Man. The number again, 720-716-7300. The code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Steve McNair, privileged black male, because he played professional football with the brain damage, didn't even make it to 44. Alcorn State alumnus as well. They got a whole documentary about privileged Steve McNair and why he didn't make it to 45. And probably had brain damage to boot. Let's see. Folks who dialed in with a hand up. Again, if we have folks who were with us for or maybe attended March on Washington. Let's see. Folks who dialed in with a hand up. Lauren should be with us. We'll nab other folks as eyes see hands. Lauren should be here, who certainly could not have been at the March on Washington for privileged black dudes.
Evening, everyone. I did not attend the March on Washington. And I was thinking about Olney, Illinois. What would be the point of counting all those foxes if you weren't going to do something if their numbers got too high? Okay, so as far as the segments you played this evening, that one about the exhibition, it was called Stay, the Black Women of 19th Century Newark. She said they created their own money from being drivers, but that they were fighting slavery, building churches, and buying houses. And just when she said fighting slavery and then followed that with building churches, I kind of, building churches, that's kind of like, I don't want to be mean, but in my mind, I thought that was like slavery of the mind. I thought the same thing when she was talking about that lady being dragged out of her residence by a realtor. The name of the exhibition was called Stay. That, her being dragged out of her residence by a realtor, they were talking about, that field, and there was a black church there or something like that. And the question was asked, is there a marker? She said no. There was a song playing by Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive. Made me think about page 66 in the original code book when Mr. Fuller talks about survival. I hope you know what I'm talking about, Gus, because that's a really important part of the book to me. I think about it all the time. I don't know. And just all those stories she told, like that, the story about Zakiya Gunn, the 15-year-old who was killed for telling a man that he couldn't tell her to move. I don't know. I'm not sure if the name of that exhibit actually matched the things that she was talking about. I don't know. In Wisconsin at the baseball game, the person who was talking, it was like a newscaster or something, he said it's really unfortunate for something like this to happen when this is all about bringing people together. He's talking about the baseball game, but I don't understand, how is baseball all about bringing people together? It's a competition, I thought. I really didn't know what to make. The guy with the murals, Los Angeles, and he was talking about the two murals he liked the best, the Forgiveness and the Inspire one. And he brought up that high-speed chase and said the guy stopped right by the Inspire mural. I didn't know what to make of that. I wasn't sure. When they were talking about those detention centers for, like, it was a youth detention center, and they said they basically function as jails, like in the adult system. The waiting to be released, the children waiting there. But they said they weren't holding kids in solitary confinement. They said they used seclusion. And then the lady said she asked them to define solitary confinement. They wouldn't. It's pretty interesting. The guy who did the ICE shooting, it said on the segment that he lived on a tree-lined cul-de-sac in Fairview. That's pretty interesting. And the albino affairs with the white squirrels. And they definitely called them albinos this time. But they said they put, I think they said freshly harvested corn for the squirrels, like for them to eat. And I wonder, this might be a stupid question, but like, do they provide this corn for all of the squirrels, or do they just give it to the white squirrels? Some interesting articles in the paper over the last week. George Santos got released because Donald Trump commuted his sentence. And the Trump administration authorized covert CIA action in Venezuela. They bombed a couple of, bombed a couple of boats, like 5 or 6 times, with people from the part of the world from Venezuela. They said they had drugs on the boats, and Trump called these people narco-terrorists. I just don't understand why it's in the paper. If it's a covert CIA action, why is it in the New York Times? That just seems really weird and counterintuitive. That's all I have for now. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
The narco-terrorist, I love it. That seems like 80s terminology. Love it. Much obliged. Lauren, if I get to Olney, I'm feeding the foxes, and I cannot imagine in any universe, I don't even think they would give the freshly harvested corn to black people, much less black squirrels. They got that whole book, Niggers and Squirrels. Literally, that's the title of it, Niggers and Squirrels. And the author, he was a guest on the program, he started off, he said that his grandfather, in Mississippi no less, Costa Jackson, said that he had seen laws that prohibited
the shooting of squirrels. And he was just talking about regular squirrels, not even the white ones. But you could go out and kill a black person, you don't even get a ticket or a slap on the wrist, which apparently is still true in Mississippi. But yes, I cannot imagine any universe where they would give fresh corn to black people or black squirrels, which were affectionately called squiggers. In the book Two-Faced Racism, Joe Fegan, he was a guest on the program. Oh, man, you talk about a case study in rodents. Go to the town where they have the black squirrels and see how they are treated. Do they have days where white people volunteer, we pitch in, we're going to count the black squirrels, we're going to feed them, fresh harvested okra, what have you, and we put emblem that we got black squirrels everywhere. We put them on the police car and put them on the flags, put them on the postage stamps, and put them on the city government seal and all that. What is the treatment of the Negro squirrels? Because I forgot which town that is, but what is the treatment of the black squirrels, and then what's the treatment of the white squirrels, the albino white squirrels? Man, come on. In Tennessee, I thought that was so important. Dr. Martin Luther King rolling over in his grave. I know he's buried in Atlanta, but he was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee. They talked about 13 to 17-year-olds, sounded like that might have been more privileged black males being detained. And maybe you did something, maybe you didn't. And they get you detained for all this time, and you get frustrated and agitated and get in fights, and then they put you in solitary. They said, oh my goodness, I got so upset about that, I start clogging the toilet, banging on the windows, and oh my goodness, I have nightmares about it. They said, in fact, I get afraid of the school security officers. Remind me of the guards in the holding pen. Said, in fact, reminded me of Devontae's brother. We were once a family. Said, in fact, I can only eat on the same schedule we ate at the prison-like facility. Remember they told us Devontae's brother said he was eating raw pork chops when he got out of, he had been detained so long. It's, come on. Sound like that might be the black male privilege. That was another one too, where they said, because Lauren pointed out when she asked, she said, well, what's the definition for solitary confinement? Same thing they do with racism. Racist? I don't have no, They don't have no definition for justice either. Fuller would point that out all the time. But when they continued with that report, they said, man, it was kind of scary that everybody seemed to know that we got all these children in solitary confinement. It didn't seem to be no. What? What did you say? You got 17 and they in a locked, you mean like in a cell? No. No. She said it seemed like, oh yeah, I know about that. Yeah. What? Don't tell me nothing about white people being ignorant. And I mean, hey, that's got to be right. I mean, they don't give out this juveniles and all that, but I mean, school to prison pipeline is not Eric Harris, Dylan Klebold, that white fella who shot up the ICE detention facility in Texas, grew up in Fairview, Texas, the tree-lined cul-de-sac in Texas, where they don't have too many Negroes, less than 10%. It's not school to prison pipeline for him because he had trouble. He didn't socialize. He just played video games. Like, that's not who it's for. It's for Jamal, Devontae. I was going to say some more names, but I mean, hey, Devontae. We just stop right. I could add his brother and probably his other sibling. Devontae. We just leave it there. Black male privilege. Again, that's delectable Negro again, because he said he got on that food thing. What is the penitentiary schedule when they let us eat? 6 o'clock. That's the only time I can eat. Delectable Negro. Number again, 720-716-7300. The code 564-943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Number again, 720-716-7300. The code 564-943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Listener emailed me. There was a reported shooting. This happened pretty recently, so they don't have tons of information about this at this point, but there was a shooting in Waco, aka Barbecueville, Jesse, Washington, where a 24-year-old white male, make sure I get the age correct. Yep, had it correct. 24-year-old Joshua Capel, Chappell, 24-year-old white male, charged with manslaughter for shooting his apparent black friend with an AR-15. Now, the reports make it seem like this was some sort of whoops. I don't even know what to say. I do not want friends who do not practice gun safety. I think that might be really high when you get your firearm and you take your firearm safety class, that you do not point the weapon at anyone unless, oh yes, I intend to shoot, kill this person. If that is not your intent, do not point your weapon at a person. Very, very bad. That's generally what they teach you. I have taken a gun class before, but an AR-15, Jesus Christ. Why? That's that black rifle that we've talked about before. I have no idea why you would point a weapon like that at someone, especially your friend. Maybe gun safety doesn't apply if you have Negro friends. But that would be another one I would show if I had offspring, if they were younger and maybe venturing out on their own. Another reason why you say we can't go to white people's house. This is why. This is why. And I think this happened at the white person's house. Like, I don't think they were at the black male's residence and the white dude brought over his AR-15 just for show and tell. I don't know. I don't think that's the way it transpired. But again, a lot of these details haven't come out yet. More to come, I reckon. Just pay attention. Again, that would be one I would share with younger non-white people. I think Lauren, she had mentioned too that report about George Santos, who we talked about before. Is he classified as white? Not. But he had done all that lying on his resume. We had talked about that, done all that lying, blah, blah, blah. He ended up getting charged and all the rest of it. I think for some people, the fact that he got seemingly in some sort of trouble, for some, that seemed to suggest, hey, maybe this dude is a non-white person. He would have got total immunity if he was a race soldier. Now he got this pardon. I am reminded of my non-white brother with a white parent, Enrique Tarrio. I'm pretty convinced he is not white. He also got a pardon for January 6th. So
I have seen some evidence that President Trump will pardon individuals who are not white, depending on what it is that they've done, maybe even how much melanin they have. Both Enrique Tarrio and George Santo, I think both of them are not the darkest of individuals. I certainly will give you that. They are not, Lil Wayne or Lupita Nyong'o. I certainly will give you that. But they are still, with Santos, we had a lot more ambiguity. Enrique Tarrio, I personally do not have any confusion, and I've not really heard folks say that they think he is accepted as white by a lot of white people. That would be new to me, and they pay victims guaranteed to them as well. But he's non-white to me, victim. Now, we'll give folks maybe 2-3 minutes if they have additional thoughts, observations on the week. Again, if we have any folks, if you were present, Million Man March, were you in the D.C. area when all that transpired? So again, like I said, that is an amazing chunk of time. October 1995. O.J. Simpson, not guilty. Farrakhan, Washington, D.C. Susan Smith. Leroy stole my white children. And trial of Timothy McVeigh is in the back. Like, amazing chunk of time. Probably some other, staggering things that I have overlooked as well. But I mean, that's kind of major events taking place for just a 30-day span. Who even knows what happened in October? I mean, for Halloween and all that. Jesus Christ, like wacky times. Let's see. Folks who dialed in 0185. Did you have commentary?
Yes, just to comment on the shooting that happened, and you did a whole bunch of talking about recently. I remember not too long ago about Waco, Texas, and all the crazy stuff that went on there. Also, that reminds me of the young man. They said he was the gentleman was the racist was playing with the AR and making gun sounds when he was pointing it at the gentleman, and the gun went off. But that kind of reminds me of the incident with the immigrant from Jamaica, Spence, when he went on the camping trip with the racist and was shot in the back 9 times, and no one still went to jail for his murder. So that's something I wanted to add, because that's kind of similar. You go out on a hunting trip, and then that's a hunting military rifle, actually, that the young man got shot with. So that's kind of similar. Okay, I'm going to mute my line. That's it.
Apparently, what I said, gun safety rules do not apply if niggers are involved. Now, I know that is not a part of the gun safety class to be, now it's okay if you triple checked and there are no bullets in the chamber and the clip is empty, or you remove the clip and the safety is on. It's okay to point the barrel at your flints, say boom, boom, you're dead. I have never heard that is not acceptable. They tell you are not supposed to do it. A gun is not a toy. They generally say that sort of thing in that serious tone, like, man, you kill people. You're not supposed. They tell you that. I think almost every gun class they say you're not supposed to point this at someone unless you intend to kill them, or at minimum, I intend to shoot this person. This is not, I'm just messing around, Leroy. Let me pretend I was about to blow your brains out, Leroy. Let's see. I'd be like, boom, boom, put that white one down, Leroy. Boom, boom, whoa, whoa, whoa. I didn't even know it went, dang, I done shot Leroy. Like, what? We've done whole programs just on that rifle, AR-15, as he's military rifle that was specifically designed to blow your skull apart, like into 1,000 pieces. Pew. Folks get shot. That's what was used at Tops, Buffalo, trying to get up there. But that's what was used. Probably get to see that rifle in court. But that's the rifle that we use. We can't even have an open casket funeral. Why? Because what I just said. Blow your brains apart. Blow you apart. You get hit with it. Ain't gonna be you got the nap. Same thing I said with the detention facilities. This is not this is what is supposed to be happening. Everybody knows these niggers are being detained in Tennessee. We all know that. You got to be stupid not to know that. Duh. No accidents. Make sure we didn't miss any folks. They had commentary to share. I guess you could drop us an email. I would be curious. We have any folks who were at the Million Man March. If they have any recollections, I am sure for an event like that to happen in Washington, D.C., there had to be all kinds of surveillance, COINTELPRO. They probably had all kinds of sophisticated recording devices and all the rest of it, and probably experimenting with all their facial recognition technology, because I think by 2001, I think they were saying, like at the Super Bowl somewhere close to there, that they were already capturing images of people's faces and such at the Super Bowl pretty close to there. So white people, COINTELPRO, early technology, probably had their iPhones out. What is Farrakhan talking? Let's see. Zoom. Like, man. But if I'm going to have to even go back, because I think Dr. Maya Angelou might have snuck into that all-dude event. Now to go back to see if that is true or not. But yeah, if we have any folks who were present for all of that, share recollection. We should be here on Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. White guest. I just mentioned Susan Smith had her parole chance a few months back. We'll just finished reading about her in the book club and her lying, practicing racism. We'll revisit her case, how that or what that reveals about the system of white supremacy and white women specifically. But that's Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Continuing with the book club as well. That'll be third installment, Evelyn Williams, Inadmissible Evidence. Next Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Probably getting more to COINTELPRO and how she got involved in Asada's case. But we just got into the book. Lots of racism, real estate theft. Said we've been talking about that quite a bit, but looking forward to getting more into the details of the late Asada as well. Make sure, let's see, we didn't miss anyone. Commentary, let's see. Folks, I reckon, are satisfied. We'll be here for Neutralizing Workplace Racism on Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Take notes as we move into the holiday season. Take notes, drop an email, let us know if you figure out suggestions and or have difficulties in the workplace. If you are working, being paid, the furlough, if that's causing further disruptions and or stress in the workplace, we'll be chatting it up Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That said, sobriety would be best with all of the random terror, predictable white supremacy, racism. It would be best to be alert so that we can be really mindful, make great choices to keep ourselves as safe as possible within the confines of white supremacy, racism. I got
Lots of drunk race soldiers and probably more as we get deeper into the horror day season. So be alert when in public. Creator, remind us. Refrain from saying not all white people are racist. Remind us to stop name-calling people classified as black. Remind us to stop producing throwaway offspring to be locked in solitary confinement, raped by Mary Kay Letourneau, drowned by Susan Smith, white women. It has been time. Replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Cow signing out. Thanks all for tuning in.
Nigga, you so brainwashed. I'm a victim, brother. Problem. You're a victim. I'm a victim of 400 years of conditioning. Shut up. The man has programmed my conditioning. Even my conditioning has been conditioned.